The US just made a move that could crash the global economy, and most Americans don't even realize it yet. Hello everyone, I want you to imagine something. You are locked in a room with your enemy. Your enemy has the only key. For 6 weeks you have been screaming at him to open the door. You have threatened to destroy him. You have begged. You have negotiated. Nothing has worked. And then you pull out your own lock and you add it to the door. That is what the President of the United States just did. On Friday, America sent its Vice President to Islamabad for the highest-level talks with Iran since 1979. 21 hours of negotiation, the most intense diplomatic effort in a generation, and it failed. On Sunday morning, Trump announced that the United States Navy will blockade the Strait of Hormuz, the same strait he has been demanding Iran open for 6 weeks.
He's now closing it further, and the whole world is about to pay the price for this decision. But here is what I want to show you today. This blockade did not fail because of bad luck. It was designed to fail before it even started. And when you understand who designed it, you will understand everything about this war. Let us begin. I want to start with something that almost no one is talking about. The Islamabad talks did not fail because Iran was unreasonable. The talks failed because the American negotiating team walked into that room with demands that were never meant to produce a deal. They were meant to produce a failure. Let me explain. Vice President Vance sat across from Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf for 21 hours, and for 21 of those hours, Vance focused on one issue above everything else. He demanded that Iran completely eliminate its uranium enrichment capability and hand over all enriched material to the United States. Now, stop and think about this. Iran has been enriching uranium legally under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty for decades. The 2015 nuclear deal kept enrichment at 3.5%. It was working. International inspectors confirmed compliance. Then Trump himself tore that deal apart in his first term, and now he sends his vice president to demand something even more extreme than what he destroyed. But here's the question nobody is asking. Whose demand was this? Because eliminating enrichment is not America's core interest. America's core interest in this war is reopening the Strait of Hormuz. America's core interest is bringing oil prices down. America's core interest is stopping the economic bleeding before the midterm elections. Enrichment is Israel's obsession, not America's. For over a decade, Israeli leaders have said publicly that they would rather have Iran moving toward a nuclear weapon under sanctions than have a rich, powerful Iran with sanctions lifted. Israeli generals said this on the record before the 2015 deal.
They preferred a poor, sanctioned Iran that they could bomb over a wealthy Iran that could defend itself. And that is exactly the policy Vance carried into Islamabad. Not a policy designed to end the war, a policy designed to satisfy Israel. While Vance was negotiating inside the Serena Hotel, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu went on camera and said against Iran is not over yet. Think about what that means. The American vice president is trying to negotiate peace, and America's closest ally is publicly saying the war should continue. And it gets worse. While the talks were happening, Israel continued bombing Lebanon, hundreds killed, apartment buildings flattened, civilians massacred. And this is the exact issue that Iran said must stop before any deal could be reached. Iran put it in writing: ceasefire across the entire region, including Lebanon. That was condition number 1. So let me lay this out clearly. Iran said, stop bombing Lebanon or no deal. Israel kept bombing Lebanon. The talks collapsed, and then Trump blamed Iran for the failure. The talks did not fail. They were sabotaged, and the sabotage did not come from Tehran. It came from Tel Aviv. Now, I want to show you the blockade itself, because there is already a contradiction inside Trump's own government about what this blockade actually is, and the blockade has not even started yet.
Trump went on Fox News Sunday morning and said it will be a complete blockade. His exact words were, "It is called all in, all out, complete, all or nothing." But then his own military command, CENTCOM, said something entirely different. CENTCOM said the blockade will only target ships entering and leaving Iranian ports. Ships going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, those are fine. So which is it? A complete blockade or a partial one targeting only Iran? The president says one thing, his military says another. Nobody in the world, including apparently the American government, knows what this blockade actually is. And on top of the blockade, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Trump is also considering resuming limited military strikes on Iran. If he does that, the two-tier ceasefire is finished, and every diplomatic channel that was opened in Islamabad closes permanently. This is not a strategy. This is a man throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks. Now, let me give you the 5 structural reasons why this blockade would fail. And I want to be clear, these are not opinions. These are structural realities, the kind that do not care what any president thinks or tweets. Reason number 1, this blockade hurts America more than it hurts Iran. This is so obvious that I almost feel embarrassed saying it, but apparently it needs to be said, because the President of the United States does not seem to understand it. Iran has been under sanctions for 47 years. 47. That is longer than most people watching this video have been alive.
The Iranian economy has been squeezed, strangled, and starved for nearly half a century, and Iran is still standing, still fighting, still controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Sanctions did not break Iran. A 6-week bombing campaign did not break Iran, and a naval blockade will not break Iran. Now, look at the other side. Oil prices jumped above $114 a barrel the moment Trump announced the blockade. Energy experts are warning of a shortage of 7 million barrels of crude per day, plus 4 million barrels of refined products. American consumer confidence just plunged to a record low, the lowest in the entire history of the University of Mishmisrede. Not since 2008, not since COVID, the lowest ever recorded. And that was before the blockade started. Iran's parliament speaker responded to the blockade by posting a map of gas station prices near the White House on social media with one line: "Enjoy the current prices. You will soon miss $4 to $5 gasoline." He understands something that Trump does not. In a game of chicken, the player who can endure paying longer wins. Iran has been training for this for 47 years. America has not trained for it at all. Reason number 2, America is alone.
The United Kingdom refused to participate in the blockade. Trump claimed the UK would send minesweepers. London said no. Australia's Prime Minister said his country was not even asked, calling it a unilateral decision. NATO has not endorsed it. The European Union has not endorsed it. Not a single Gulf state has publicly committed ships. Instead, the UK is building its own coalition of more than 40 countries to reopen the strait through diplomacy. 40 countries working on a completely different plan than the American president. When your blockade has zero allied support and 40 countries are working around you, you are not leading. You are standing alone in the middle of the ocean, wondering why nobody followed you there. Reason number 3, China has already called America's bluff. This is the part that I think changes everything, and it happened while most people were still reading about the Islamabad talks. On Sunday, China's defense minister, Admiral Dong Jun, made a public statement. Chinese commercial and naval vessels are transiting the Strait of Hormuz without disruption. China will honor its energy agreements with Iran, and he warned outside powers against interfering in China's bilateral affairs. Let me translate that from diplomatic language into plain English. China just told the United States, "Our ships are going through. Try to stop us." And China is not just passing through. Chinese vessels have been paying Iran's transit toll in Chinese yuan, not dollars, yuan. That alone tells you where the financial architecture of this region is heading, and it is not just ships. U.S. intelligence has confirmed that China is preparing to deliver new air defense systems to Iran, specifically shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles known as man-pads. These are the same type of weapon that shot down an American F-15 fighter jet over Iran during the war. Trump himself confirmed this at a press conference. He said it was a handheld, shoulder-fired, heat-seeking missile that hit the engine. Now, connect the dots. China is sending Iran the exact weapons that are killing American pilots. China is sending ships through the strait that Trump says he will blockade. And China's defense minister is publicly daring the United States to do something about it. So, what does the U.S. Navy do when a Chinese oil tanker approaches the blockade line? Board it? That risks a military confrontation with the world's second largest navy. Sink it? That is an act of war against a nuclear power. Let it through? Then every country in the world reflags its tankers under Chinese registration and the blockade becomes a joke. And here's the part that should keep every American strategist awake at night. If the United States establishes the precedent that a naval power can blockade an international strait, China will use that exact precedent to blockade Taiwan. The United States would be handing China the legal and strategic framework to do the one thing America has been trying to prevent for 70 years. Reason number 4, Iran has escalation options America cannot match. The IRGC warned on Sunday that any military vessel approaching the Strait of Hormuz will be dealt with harshly and decisively. Iran's senior military advisor said the nation has great untapped leverage to counter the blockade. Great untapped leverage. Remember that phrase, because I believe they were talking about the Red Sea. Iran's allies, the Houthis in Yemen, control the Bab al-Mandeb Strait at the southern entrance to the Red Sea. That waterway carries another 12 to 15% of global trade. If Trump blockades Hormuz, Iran picks up the phone and the Houthis close the Red Sea. Now you have two of the world's most critical maritime choke points shut down simultaneously. Oil does not just get expensive, it disappears from the market entirely. Fertilizer stops flowing, food prices spike globally, and the world does not enter a recession, it enters a depression. The American president is playing on one board, Iran is playing on two, and Iran has a piece on the second board that America cannot reach. Reason number 5, the real winner of this blockade is Russia. If you watched my last video, you already know the pattern. Russia's oil does not transit Hormuz. Every barrel that gets trapped in the Persian Gulf is a barrel the world has to replace, and the replacement comes from Russia. Before this war started, Russia's oil revenues were collapsing. The Kremlin was preparing budget cuts. Then the war started, and Russia's oil tax revenue doubled to $9 billion in a single month. The blockade will push prices even higher. Russia will make even more. And here is the part that should make every American citizen furious. Trump lifted sanctions on Russian oil to keep global prices down during the war. And now Trump is blockading Hormuz, which pushes global prices back up. The net effect is that Russia sells more oil at higher prices with American permission. The country whose satellites helped Iran locate and destroy American military aircraft is being financially rewarded by the American president who claims to be winning this war. If I wrote this as fiction, my editor would reject it for being too unrealistic. So let me tell you what I think is really happening. Because this blockade is not about strategy, it is about psychology. Trump sent his vice president to negotiate. Israel's demands killed the talks. Iran said no, and Trump, who has built his entire identity on winning, on dominance, on the idea that nobody can resist his pressure, just got publicly rejected. On Fox News Sunday morning, Trump said, "I could take out Iran in one day. In 1 hour, I could have their entire energy infrastructure gone." He then added, "The only thing left is their water, which would be very devastating to hit."
The President of the United States is fantasizing on live television about destroying a nation's water supply the same day he posted AI images of himself as Jesus Christ on social media, while his own American-born Pope is calling his war immoral, and 3 American cardinals just condemned him on 60 Minutes. This is not the behavior of a leader executing a strategy. This is the behavior of a man who has lost control of the situation and is lashing out in every direction. The blockade is not a calculated move. It is an emotional reaction to a diplomatic humiliation. And emotional reactions in the middle of a war are how empires make the mistakes they never recover from. So here are my 3 predictions. Prediction number 1. This blockade collapses within 45 days. Gas prices in America will push towards $6 a gallon. Republican members of Congress facing midterm elections will break with the president publicly. And Trump, who cares about the economy more than anything, will find a way to declare victory and quietly end the blockade without getting anything in return. Prediction number 2. Within 3 weeks, a Chinese flag vessel will transit the blockade line. The U.S. Navy will not stop it, and that single moment will prove to the entire world that America's blockade is unenforceable against any country willing to call the bluff. Other countries will follow immediately. Prediction number 3. 6 months from now, when the dust settles, we will look back and see that the blockade accomplished the opposite of everything it intended. It did not weaken Iran. It strengthened Iran's negotiating position. It did not isolate Iran.
It isolated America. It did not lower oil prices. It raised them. And it did not bring the war closer to ending. It made the war harder to end. Let me leave you with the pattern, because the pattern is what matters. In my first video, I showed you how China won this war by playing all 3 sides: the military board, the diplomatic board, and the economic board. And now, China's defense minister is publicly daring America to stop Chinese ships in the strait. In my second video, I showed you how America had already lost the Islamabad talks before they began, and we just watched those talks collapse in exactly the way I described. In my third video, I showed you how Russia is making billions from a war it never joined, and this blockade is about to make Russia even richer. And today I showed you the blockade, the moment when the President of the United States decided to lock himself inside his own trap. He wanted the door open, he added another lock, and now he is standing on the wrong side of it. Every action America takes in this war makes America weaker and its adversaries stronger. The war enriched Russia, the ceasefire empowered Iran, the talks revealed Israel's control, and the blockade will unite the entire world against the one country that started this. There is a line I keep coming back to, and I think it captures everything about this moment. When your only move is to do to yourself what your enemy has been doing to you, you have not found a strategy, you have found a mirror. And in that mirror, for the first time, you can see the face of an empire that no longer recognizes itself. That is my analysis.